Coach, it's not only awesome that you have that as a gig, but it's super well deserving. I mean, you talk about you won the Heisman for the Gators, you won national championships, you're a national champion. Coach, this is a show called Good in the Game. How did you get started in football, and did you think it would lead to you being as successful as you were once you got to school and beyond?
Uh, well, let me, after 10 years in the NFL, I was 9 at San Francisco, and I tell everybody I had the best job in pro football. It's called backup quarterback.
That's what they say.
You don't get hurt, you don't get hit. When the game's over, fellas, where are we taking the wives for dinner or whatever we're going to do? And so anyway, I was able to last 10 years, and obviously the pension money.
That's a
I
great
waited
career.
until I was 65, so get the maximum there and all that.
Mhm.
But anyway, after that, somebody said, Steve, what are you going to do? I said, well, you know what? I need a job. The most I ever made in the NFL was 125. In my first year, it
Jeez.
was 25 and 30 and up the ladder. But anyway, I said, well, if I get a chance to coach, I think that's something I'd like to do. I've been around a lot of good coaches, and I've been around a lot of sorry coaches.
Mhm.
And I read somewhere in life, in fact, John Wooden, UCLA basketball coach, I admire his style of coaching and so forth. But he said, in life, we learn from everybody we are around. And most of it is not what to do, but what not to do. Don't
Mm.
do what this guy did or that
Right.
guy. And because you can see that didn't work or that didn't work. So anyway, when I did get a chance to get into coaching, I was very thankful to have the opportunity here at Florida. And then Georgia Tech, we all got fired. And then the coach at Duke, who I'd met sort of on the recruiting trail, he hired me as offensive coordinator in the third year. So I got a chance to put in the plays and call them all. And so that was a big break. Only my third year in coaching, I got to do that at a major college university.
And you guys ended up winning the ACC.
Won the ACC in '89.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's when I make my speeches to groups here, there, and the other. That's I talk a lot more about that than national championship in Florida.
What
But
makes it so special,
well,
Coach?
it's so special because it's the only one in 64 years. In
Indeed.
'62, they won one. So, but what was special about it, LaVar, before the season, my wife Jerry handed me a magazine article. It said how to set goals in life and how to achieve them. And I said, and first of all, you get your guys together. Let's write down 5 or 6 goals, and we'll see if we can do it this year. Okay.
Mhm.
So we start writing them down, and like winning record, go to bowl game. Duke hadn't been to a bowl game in about 26 years or so. This I think. Uh, so we had winning season, bowl game, finished top 25, maybe blah blah blah. Beat North Carolina, in-state rival, which by the way we did all 3 years. Uh, and then one of our guys raised his hand. He said, "Coach, we think we can win the ACC football championship." Bubba Metz, our center and captain. And I said, "Now you're supposed to set goals that are doable." Coach, we played all these guys at home. We played good at home. Yeah, we were 12-3 at home when I was at Duke. But anyway, he said we want to put that on the list of goals. I said, "Okay, we're going to put it on there, but don't tell anybody. We don't want to be embarrassed that we're talking about winning the ACC." But the game, we opened up that year 1-3, and then we had a change of attitude, a change of personnel. I've learned sometimes as coaches, we don't know who the best players are. So
Mhm.
we had a little running back, got the wind knocked out of him, but he could run the draw play, catch the ball out of the backfield. But the guy that came in was a little bit bigger kid, Randy Cuthbert, who could run over guys and through guys and break tackle, which, as you know, inspires the whole team.
Mhm.
So he came in there against Clemson and started running it down their throat, and we got really up for it, and we upset Clemson. Let's see, we beat them 24-17. I'm sorry, 2017,
Mhm.
21-17, 21-17,
21-17.
21-17, and then we went on and won the rest of the games that year. So we went from
Wow.
1-3 all the way through, which in life, when you have change in attitude, things like that can happen. And we had a change in attitude and a change in coaching style too. We went to a goal line defense. Back in those days, teams just run the I
They want to
formation,
run the ball.
sweep
Yeah.
right, sweep left, up the middle.
Mm-hmm.
So we put
Mm-hmm.
8 up there, and our safety, he would come running up as soon as the ball was snapped. And we had a couple of good little DBs that could play man to man. So you got those guys. All 9 of us are going to play the run. So we made some stops and forced a bunch of punts, and ended up winning all the rest of them. So by doing that, the Florida job just happened to open that same year of '89, and I was able to come here. And what really helped us here at Florida, we actually won the SEC 6 of the first 7 years and lost the championship game, is that the Florida guys, watch those Duke guys, I brought all the film. It was film back then. And they said, dang, if those little old guys over there can win a championship, sure.
And what we can do here.
We can do that here. So,
right.
With that attitude that we can do this, let's go do it. Man, it was working 6 out of 7 years. And then we started losing that one game that cost us the SEC. But still, it was, a really good run here and so forth.
Coach, you were so dynamic in the way that you handle things. I think you were a man before his time. And I'll qualify that by saying you, to me, were the first player coach I ever had. They're the first one. Mm-hmm. And some coaches didn't like to have that as a title, and some embraced it, and it was funny because one of my fond memories outside of you directly being my coach, one of my first fond memories were my freshman year when we played you guys in the Citrus Bowl. And I need to know if this is true or not. But was there a bet between you and Coach Paterno that if you won, he had to wear your visor? If we won, I don't know what it was that you had to do, but it was a bet between the two of us. Well, obviously, Fred Taylor sets the rushing record for the bowl game against us.
Yeah.
I think I was the only one that wanted to tackle him that day. But you had a loaded team. But the one memory was that you were a player's coach, and all the guys that I talked to, from the Freak to Jaquez to Rydell, always spoke so highly of you as the person. And just talk to me a little bit. You got to confirm or deny the bet between you and Coach Paterno. But just talk to me about being ahead of your time in terms of being a player's coach too. And
back to former players that go on to be coaches. Some guy wrote an article, maybe 20 years ago. He had me number 1. I guess winning the Heisman helped, All-American college players who went on to have successful and the other two guys were Chuck Long, who was San Diego State coach, and Turner Gill, who played at Nebraska.
Turner Gill.
He was up at, and there was no other guys out there. Of course, both those guys are not head coaches in college now, and really didn't last probably a whole long time. But anyway, former All-Americans or whatever just didn't go into coaching. So when I went into it, LaVar, I went into it saying, I got to learn how to do this stuff. I didn't know anything my first or second year. And at Duke University, I worked under a coach, Red Wilson, who would hand out sheets, how to be a good ball coach, how to handle player-coach relationships, about 30 of those things. And I just kept collecting motivational type sheets and things like that that really helped me along the way. Now, at Washington, I didn't do a very good job. And as we know, the setup when Snyder was there, it's a lot different now.
You did an excellent job, Coach. You did an excellent job.
My wife
had trouble.
Yeah, she had trouble pulling for the Redskins or even the Commanders. And I said, Jerry, it's a whole different setup now. I'm pulling for Jalen Daniels, man. I'm pulling for the Washington team every game they play because I admire the coach there and the setup. And
it's different.
I don't know the owner, but I know it's a good setup there.
I always say there's got to be at least one coach on a team that can relate to me. That's why we used to always say, if you have one, if you just got one, you got a chance. If you have more than one, you got a whole lot of a chance. And it's interesting because a lot of times head coaches they're not really relatable. At least old school head coaches, they're not really relatable. And you are all the way. You're not only relatable, like you lived it and you get it. And we talked about, our ties in terms of coaches. Elijah Robinson, he's also from Camden. And he's
Grew up
also,
with that.
yeah, and he's also um a real one, super real one. Just talk to me about how that plays a part, because it's one thing to be able to be an authoritative figure who says dart, execute the acronym and different things like that. But it's another thing when you can look somebody in the eyes and listen. This isn't everyone, right? Everyone doesn't come from that type of background, but a lot of us do. A lot of guys that play football in particular, basketball too, but definitely football. We come from a hard way, and a
Mhm.
lot of times, all we want is for somebody to relate to us.
Yep.
Understand that if I react this way, understand this is why I'm reacting that way. I'm not reacting this way because I'm a bad person. I'm acting this way actually really because out of survival for so many years and understanding code that this is what you do in these moments, I need you to understand so that we can connect on a level where I trust you. I feel because the biggest things obviously is feeling I can trust you, feeling safe. Like I need to feel safe if I'm gonna really like give you what I got, and I like this is how I feel about you. Like we riding, right? Talk to me, like what's that like? What's that relationship like with your players? Because that's got to be like I could tell right now just the way you are. I mean, they don't just talk to you on a football level. They talk to you on like you, and this is something that you got to find balance with too. I'm sure being the coach. How do you balance being the homie with being the coach? Because you definitely, I can talk. I know if I come to you as a player or even as a coach, I could shoot it straight with you. I can shoot it straight.
100%.
How do you balance that? How do you balance that out?
Because we're human,
Mm,
and you can't forget that. And I went through the same struggles you went through. I mess around, be going through some of them right there.
mm-hmm.
So it's communication and it's vulnerability and making sure they understand and know, damn, I know how you feel. And then look, for real, yeah, like I'm sharing stories with them. So we'll sit in front of the whole, I'm gonna share a story with the whole team. I'm gonna tell them exactly what went on, exactly what happened, exactly why I was doing this. And why would you talk to them and tell them all that? So they won't make that same mistake.
Mm-hmm.
And so they feel comfortable enough to come and talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
And then they sit there and it's like, oh snap, this is who coach really is, right? And then when they come in, it's things like, see, that dart, and they just word. I tell the players, yeah, that's why we're trying to live and do it. They words, man. Are you committed to this?
Mm-hmm.
I'm committed to you. Show me you committed to me. And I'm gonna show you that by my actions consistently. I care about you. And I'm not just gonna tell you that, my actions gonna show you that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then the last thing I ask them, I say trust. And guess what you need to trust? What I do daily. And I'm gonna trust what you do daily. Now I'm gonna help you create good habits. Because a lot of y'all did come from where I came from.
Mm-hmm.
And we got a lot of messed up ways. But then I got some Caucasian kids who came from similarities that I came from also.
Sure.
Then there's some who didn't come from that. I got a lot of two-parent kids in the household, and their parents know, hey, Fran, he need that tough love, right? Then I got some Jewish kids on my team who are just amazing young men, but they also need that tough love and need to be shown what it's like to struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Like hear these stories, hear and understand this, but then in the same sense, show them how that door open for them, keep it open, and help your brothers come in
Mm.
because you know who he is in the heart. Because we all get to build and bond that way and do it all the right way. So for me, it's a thin line, and I'm always able to make sure that they don't cross it because I'm at practice. I ain't trying to hear nothing nobody say.
Mm.
It's
It's
practice.
work.
It's football. It's practice. Work.
It's work.
Work is work.
Yeah.
And when I'm coming at you, coach, player, no matter who you are, because nobody's exempt. When I'm coming at you, That's just practice. That's what has to happen. So we give us a chance to win on Saturday. But as soon as I leave that practice field, what's up, cousin? You good? Hey, I'm saying I'll make sure I'm talking to you and I know who you are. And you'll never go to sleep. And I was screaming at you, whether you're a coach or a player. I'm gonna make sure and I'm gonna come and I'm gonna explain why. And if I was wrong, LaVar, I'm gonna be the first to tell you, hey, I shouldn't have did that way. I apologize.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to make sure you know that. And I might have to apologize in front of the whole team, depending on what it was
Mm-hmm.
or how it went, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because everybody taught that family stuff with us here. I'd be like, nah, man, we ain't family. That take time. Like, you a coach. We had our receiver coach. Man, I'm cool, right? I like Coach Miles. He just got here. And like, yo, this man, I say, yo, don't be telling people we family. I don't even know you enough yet. We not family, dog. We ain't family. How we gonna say we family? You been here 3 months.
If I got to say it, it ain't
family.
real. If I got to say it to you, it ain't real.
We ain't family. Don't even tell them that. Like the players that been here for some time and different ones we know them. Like I got certain players. I tell them, yo, I love you, yo,
Right.
because they know it.
That's when you know it's family. If I
Yeah,
tell
it's
you I
like, yo,
love
I
you,
love
because
you, right?
cats ain't easy to use. I love you. If I can
nah,
say I
there's some of
love
them.
you,
Hey, listen. It's one of them, my boy David O. I love him, right? 18 on our team. I first started telling him. So he come in, I'm like, yo, all right, Dave, see you later. I love you, man. And he's like, all right, coach. Like he was
get it out.
uncomfortable
Yeah,
with the
good
ball,
get
right?
out. Yeah.
Uncomfortable as that. And I said, yo, it's cool. You ain't gotta tell me that ain't how you feel, man. Keep it moving. I'm good.
Yeah.
And then he's like, all right, bet. He's like, my fault, coach. I said, nah, you good. You gotta be who you are. Your heart ain't telling you
I'm
to
letting you know how I feel. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I tell him, right?
Yeah.
So it's
But that's an example, right? That's being an
Yeah.
example because I grew up hard and saying I love you was not a part of our
Oh,
culture. That was not a
you
part
wasn't.
of it. There's not a lot of hugging. There ain't a lot of I love you. It's like I know you love me, but it's like have a good day. Like
Yeah.
you know
All
what I
right,
mean?
be safe.
You know what
Be
I mean?
safe.
Like but one
Yeah.
thing that I had to learn in my adulthood is being the best leader I could possibly be is knowing that being that way, if I truly feel that way about you, I'm gonna let you know. I tell my teammates
Yeah.
when I talk to them, when we get off the phone, and I can tell even sometimes to catch them off guard, like, love you, bro. Like, and they probably may feel it and they think it, but it's okay to show somebody that it's okay to express the emotion and let you know, like, bro, we know we love each other. I'm gonna let you that this may because I'm to the age now. You get to the age, you be like, hey man, like this might be the last time I talk to you, type stuff.
Could
You know
be.
what I mean, right?
And
You don't
you
take
know
it
who the
for
best
granted.
at doing that? You know who's the absolute best
Who is?
at doing that? Prime, Deion Sanders.
Love that. He is really
Absolutely.
good at that.
Really, and
Prime is
he
good at
feel it. He
that.
makes sure it's real, and it's like, yo, Prime, absolute best at that. Like, and it's just like, dang. Like for me, because I got a chance to talk to him and get to know him over these last couple
Mhm.
years. When I like heard Prime time, like, yo, man, I love you, brother.
Yeah.
I said, oh, motherfucking Prime just told me that. It's amazing, right? You know
Right.
what I'm saying? Like,
And
but
he
it was just
mean
like,
it. And he
oh,
mean
he means
if
it.
he respect what you doing, anything about
Oh,
what if he likes something about what you do, if he respects something that you doing, he's definitely gonna let you. He don't have no problem letting you know.
nah, not at
He
all.
don't
And
have no
that makes
problem.
it so cool. That's why I'm
Yeah.
happy that he's doing as well as he's doing
Yeah.
and all that because he comfortable, right? He
Yeah.
comfortable who he is. And that's the same way like I am. I'm super comfortable, man. I'm just because I'm thankful too, right?
Yeah.
Gratitude.
Yeah.
It's so much gratitude in this. It's so much to have for me coming from Camden, New Jersey, right? I know you've always just been a regular dude. When I get an opportunity to be on the podcast with LaVar Arrington coming from where I come from, the same guy that we watched as a little kid jump over the pile and make the tackle and Brooklyn, like, but you know what I'm saying? Like when it all starts to come to fruition,
Yeah.
it's like, wow, like God is good, man.
Yeah.
Like how I get the
Indeed.
opportunity to be in that position. So
Respect.
it just means a lot. You know, it means a lot, and I'm very thankful for it. And that's the gratitude that I think they say once you always show gratitude, you don't mind working.
And so you got those running backs, got them to play linebacker. Was that the resilience, coach? How difficult was it, or how much of a challenge was it to get those tailbacks to be able to play on the defensive side? Because sometimes, it's the contact. It isn't the athleticism, it's the contact that is the difference maker when you're talking about a guy that wants to play offense versus playing defense when we're talking just skilled players.
Early, because you had no evidence of it being, but once there's an article, there's a guy by the name of one of my players, Jason Phillips, said, because he was a quarterback safety in high school, and we moved him to fullback, and he started 4 years as a freshman all the way through, played with the Eagles and the Ravens. And he had a quote. He said, if Coach Patterson asks you to move, you should probably think about it because it's worked. And so, it's so guys, we did all that, and I think kids know. I always said you can't fool a 6-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
So probably not going to fool an 18-year-old. And Jerry Hughes, he walked in in the locker room and he said, you never gave me a chance to be tailback. That's the story he tells. I said, Jerry, you know what we talked about. I said, when you walked in the locker room, what was the number on your locker? And he said, 98. I said, you know many tailbacks are 98? I mean, him and I are really close. He turned out to be a 2-time All-American, great player, just like you. And, you just find the way to put basically 75 guys together and find out how to be great. That's what you're trying to do. So.
Do you have any personal reflections on that, Coach, in terms of like what your daily regiment was and how you approached, going about doing what you're doing? Because that's not a grind for the weak or the weary. You got to show up and you got to be that guy every single day. Any personal reflections on how you approached it?
Well, 42 years, I never missed a day at work, LaVar.
Wow.
Now, I sat in separate rooms, maybe in throwing up in a trash can because you had the flu.
I could dig it.
But, you only get X amount of days to prepare for a ball game.
That's right.
And so it's not like, well, I'm sick on Monday. Well, I'll stay home and see if I can catch up on Tuesday.
Mm-hmm.
And so when people talk about doing all of it, I go back and I look at it because we knew we had to change TCU. Sometimes now that I didn't really know until I've been out for 3 years now and go, wait, I'm not getting up for pregame meal. I'm not staying late to call some recruit. I'm not sitting in the office trying to change a blitz, but I miss the players. I miss the coaches. I miss, the fans and all those kind of things. But I was talking, I don't know if you know who Matt Carpenter is.
I know the name.
He's a baseball player for the St. Louis Cardinals.
I recognize the name. Okay.
So he's going in the Hall of Fame with me at TCU on the 18th of September. And we were talking about what we missed and didn't miss. And all the things I talked about, we missed. He and I both, we about said it together. We did not miss the grind of what it was going to take to be great.
Right.
Because it's people understand. You show me somebody that's really good at what they do in this profession. I'll show you people that it's a way of life. It's not a game. It's a way of life. If you want to be special, even if you're talented, I still think it's a way of life. LT, as in LaDainian Tomlinson, the player.
Yep.
He used to do our running groups, and then he'd go over to the hill right next to our practice fields, put on different shoes, and run another 45 minutes.
Wow.
And so at the end of the day, those kids all learned, and I coached Brian Urlacher at New Mexico.
Okay.
Same thing. He wasn't a half sometimes guy. It was why he played. He was a full-time guy. And I think probably you were also. It's just all the great ones I ever ask, I always ask him, I say, so what do you think makes you special? And probably 90% of the time it all comes back to, hey, I'm all in. So,
willing to die. I was willing to die for it, Coach. Yeah, I used to say it to certain people, and they'd be looking at me like, willing to die for it. Like, I'm out here. If I go out on my shield, I go out on my shield. But I'm preparing to go to war, and I'll be damned if I don't go to war. But I learned that I'm a military kid, so football was my opportunity to be a military guy, even though like I wasn't in the military. But that was like my military. So yeah, I get what you're saying. Did you like, what was your background? Like, talk to me about how did you come to become the man that you are, that had these standards and had these principles and values that you imparted on your team and imparted on the programs that you led?
Well, I grew up in a little town of 125 people in western Kansas.
That's a little town, coach.
So you worked 7 days a week. You might went to church on Sunday, and then you went to the fields afterwards. You played all sports. Um, Everybody was involved. You did everything from academics to football. And my whole thing, my mom was a nurse. My dad leveled land for irrigation so they could flood the fields and grow crops. Um, and so I never wanted to, my philosophy behind it, I watched how hard they worked. I wanted to get out and make sure that how hard they worked was worth it. I didn't want to let them down. I wanted to be able to make sure that even though we grew up in that small little town and the people there were unbelievable, that old thing that, you're going to get in just as much trouble with the neighbor as you are with your own mom and dad if you're doing something wrong. It takes a village.
Yeah.
It was all like that. And
You get spanked on your way home.
Yeah. And it got worse when you got there. Right?
And they got it worse when you got there.
And
yeah.
so I knew I wasn't going to be a guy that stayed in Roselle, but I did want to make sure and I've tried not to do this. I tried not to change, to be that small town person that treated everybody the same, was going to work hard, was going to do as I said I was going to do. And at the end of the day, you got to have a little luck. I'm not sure, even when I became the head coach at TCU, that probably 50% like, who's this guy? We don't want him. And most of us, like most coaches, you just think, well, 3 years is the average that you stayed. So to be the head coach for 21 years was a blessing. So,
Coach, my last question for you, and I really do appreciate you taking the time out to give us some time. What's your legacy? What do you want to be remembered by? And ultimately, when people talk about Coach Gary Patterson, what is it that you would want for them to think and to say?
That I was a winner and I wanted the best for everybody, because I didn't just want to move. I didn't want to just change TCU. I wanted to change Fort Worth because so many people helped me. And so that's what I'll say on the stage on the 18th of September is that I was here. Yeah, I had to win to keep my job, but really I was here to make a difference. I don't know if you know Leon Bridges, the singer.
No, I don't know the name.
Guy, anyway.
Okay.
Young superstar, been in 17 countries overseas. I mean, he's a Fort Worth guy. And
okay.
I don't like the arts. He doesn't like sports, but we both have two things in common. We love Fort Worth and we love music.
Okay.
And so at the end of the day, because a lot of the younger generation saw me on the sidelines and I looked like this guy, you'd use the A word probably.
Okay.
And most of them now that they play golf with me, because my wife told me she'd be better for worse, but not for lunch. That I had to be gone 46 hours a day. And so usually about halfway through the round, I get, well, you're a lot different than we thought you were.
Right.
I had to start coining the phrase, there's Coach P and there's Gary.
There you go.
My wife loved Gary. She wasn't sure about Coach P.
Understood. So, understood.
Flip the switch. You know about flipping the switch.
Understood. This is Good in the Game. That's the name of the podcast. Where did it start? How did it come together for you that football would be your journey and that you would grow to find who you are and what your identity is and how it applies to the world around you and how that plays a part in how you coach, with your players and with your staff?
Yeah. So the crazy part is, out of high school, I went to USC as a baseball player. And then I transferred back to junior college and I played both sports. And then I ended up playing El Camino Junior College, man. A lot of great players that come out of there.
Come out of there. Yeah.
A lot of them. And then I ended up going to play quarterback at BYU. And I'm not LDS. I went there because they threw the ball before everybody else was throwing it. They needed a quarterback. And I stumbled into playing for a great man in Lavelle Edwards, who, in my opinion, was ahead of his time, right? And throwing the ball and dynamic offenses and things of that nature. And I took my shot at playing professionally and didn't get drafted, and spent 3 years in the CFL, and then moved back to the South Bay, moved back to Torrance and started working. But then I was coaching back at El Camino Junior College too.
Mm-hmm.
And I get my real foot in the door when Pete Carroll offers me a graduate assistant job when he gets hired at SC. And that was probably the first time, like, I knew I liked the mental side of the game. I wasn't the most physically gifted player. I wasn't the biggest, fastest, tallest, strongest, biggest arm. I had to play up here. I had to think the game. I had to be the fastest mental player on every play. So I love the mental aspect of the X's and O's, and and taking offense and defense and how they meshed and what was supposed to happen, right? Mm-hmm. You're always trying to think what the outcome should be. But and Pete Carroll was huge in that, because I learned defensive football on a whole nother level when I was with him. He's a great defensive coach. But at the same time, here's a guy who had been a previous head coach for the Jets, for the Patriots, now comes back to USC and had taken kind of a sabbatical there for about a year. And he really transformed his own philosophical approach to coaching. He was following Parcells, I think, in New England. He was trying to coach like him, and he didn't even know who he was. And so he kind of found himself. And the knowledge now from that time there is probably more valuable today than it was in the moment. But in the moment now, man, it really impacted me. And there's a lot of principles that I still hold on to from my time with Pete. But he was almost ahead of his time, right? And in this day and age, like, he had the ability to tap into a generation of kids in the 2000s differently than a lot of other coaches were at that time. Mm-hmm. It was like okay to have fun. It was okay to smile. It was okay to hug a player. It was okay but yet still be disciplined in our approach. And everyone was like, man, go to USC. It's fun. Yeah, it's fun, but it's hard. Mm-hmm. Like it's not recess every day. It was hard when we were there. Mm-hmm. And then on the flip side, fast forward, I get with Coach Saban, and it was like this regimented, disciplined approach. And I was thinking to myself, man, how does this guy get away with this, right? Because I just saw what the other guy was doing, in the 2000s. It's because that's who he is. Nick Saban lives one of the most disciplined lifestyles I've ever seen. Mm-hmm. Like, if it's 3:30 on a Tuesday, I know where he's going to be. He's going to be in the staff room watching third downs. Like that, you can almost predict his life that way. And so the reason he wanted a disciplined team is because that's how he lived his life, and that made sense to him. Mm-hmm. And so the point being is, as I navigated my way through that and I got to this job, it was like, okay, what are the things that are important to me? And then how do I instill those things into the team so that I'm going to be more at peace because our team is acting in accordance to the things that are important to me. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something as coaches that we miss, especially when we're young coaches, because we try to emulate those that are our mentors. Mm-hmm. When in reality, it's not trying to emulate them. It's taking some of the core principles they may have, but they've got to fit you, all right, and the things that are important to you. Because if you can implement something, but if it's not important to you, you won't ever really back it up. You won't enforce it. You won't pour more into it. And so that was a couple things just along my journey that have made sense to me.
What's signature to Sarkisian? What is Coach Sark's? That this is me. Like, this is what I took from all those things you said. Yeah. But this is my staple. This is me. This is who people are. They're going to take this from me, and they're going to say, you know what? That's Coach Sarkisian.
Or there's a fair amount of things, and I'm going to hate to like pinpoint one, but okay. we use an adage around here: tough all day, and I truly believe that's who I am. I truly believe that's who I am, and I'll tell you how I got to that. It's hard to like pinpoint it all, but like I've been through enough stuff in my life, right? And LaVar, you know my story, and most people know my story, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, you don't go through the things that I've gone through and have some resiliency and have some ability to respond to adversity in your own life, and continue to restore your career and restore relationships and continue to forge forward, when a lot of people maybe in my shoes would have waved the white flag at that point, right? Mm-hmm. And so how do I instill some of those things that are inside of me, clearly that are in me, into a team? And so, quick story. I didn't know how to quantify what that was, right? How do we respond to adversity? We talk about attitude. We say about all this stuff. Like a lot of coaches I'm sure you played for, right? In those first team meetings, talk about all those types of things. Well, we were playing Alabama my second year here. And about the second quarter, I looked down the sidelines and there's Roger Clemens, man. And I was like a huge Red Sox fan growing up. And it was like, there's the Rocket, right? And he's a big man. I don't know if you've ever met
I just met him not too long ago.
He's a big dude, man. I was like, holy crap, man. No wonder
he's tall.
Couldn't hit from this guy. He's throwing 100 miles an hour. And so I went up to him in the game. I said, hey, Rocky, man, it's great to meet you. I've always been a fan, so on and so forth. And so the game ends, and it's probably midweek the next week I get a package. And it's a Red Sox jersey, and it's signed Roger Clemens and Cy Youngs and MVPs. And in the end, in quotes, he wrote "Tough all day." And I was like, man, that is a great slogan.
Yeah,
I adopted it immediately, and we started pouring into it because I think that encompasses a lot, right? There's the physical toughness that we have to have in football, no question. You know that better than anybody. There's the mental toughness that you have to have on the football field as well. Next play mentality, the coming off of a loss, how do you respond? The dealing with a rehab coming off of an injury, dealing with our own personal issues and the adversity and real life stuff that's going on, dealing with maybe being demoted. All of a sudden a guy's getting more playing time than you at your position. How do you respond to that? To me, that's tough all day, right? You've got to have this sense of resiliency. You got to have this sense of perseverance. You got to have this sense of grit to deal with life on life's terms and the way it comes at us. And so that's probably in a nutshell the one thing I would say. There's a million other things we do, that I think matter, that pour in, that add to that, but that's probably the main one.